Johnson puts an exclamation point on the Fonda Championship. The All-Star Circuit of Champions makes their way into the Valley of Speed. We catch up with 3 racing legends who came to the Capital Region. Well, one thing's for sure, I'm not worried about a 2% rule, but I'd rather be in that thing than that thing. Race Pro Weekly. Yeah, I'm out of here. Hello and welcome to another edition of Race Pro Weekly. I'm your host, Mike Warren. This past Saturday night was the final night of points at the Fonda Speedway with 3 drivers separated by 4 points. Let's head to the Track of Champions to see who would take home the title in our opening highlight sponsored by Land Ho Maintenance. The final night at points at the Fonda Speedway as we move to the Sportsman feature. Rocky Warner working it up on the top side as he races with Tim Hartman Jr. John McAuliffe would take the checkered flag but would refuse post-race tech, giving the win to Brian Calabrese and the title to Rocky Warner. To the modifieds now. Things get a little squirrely early as the 816 of Jeff Rockefeller would spin out up in turn number 2. Off the restart, cars on the move. Here's RJ and Bobby Varon, 2 of the title contenders, looking to fight for the position as they go to work in front of Troy Palmer. And holy slide job on the 00 from the 1 RJ of Ronnie Johnson as he moves around Palmer on the outside lane, and he would be your new race leader as RJ was on the way. The 00 of Varon now going to move past Pony Bellinger and Palmer as they drive past the Cow Palace. Danny Johnson looking to take control as well as Josh Hohenforce moving up through the field. And here is the 3 of Mark Keselowski trying to make something happen. The 1 of Darwin Green right there as well, along with the 51 of Scott Huber with a little bit of a good run going. But Jeremy Wilder trying to chase down the top 2 as caution would come out for the 6H of Hohenforce who would go to pit road. Off of the restart, it would be the 1 RJ, and the Doctor looking to make a house call. Dives in front of the 00 of Bobby Varon. Varon gonna battle right back on the inside lane as they bring him off at turn number 4, and he take that number 2 spot away, and Jeremy Wilder giving the Doctor a little bit of his own medicine, getting by him on the inside lane for spot number 3. Johnson trying to battle back on the inside lane, but that time couldn't do it as Jeremy Wilder trying to take home this championship as well. Things will continue to sneak off as the top 3 were the top 3-point getters so far on the season, with Ronnie Johnson still leading this event. But as that happened, Jeremy Wilder would start to go off of the pace, as it would be Johnson and Hansen getting by him, and eventually he'd lose a number of positions as well, as the 24 would slow up off of turn number 2, a tough break for Wilder. Battle for the lead starting to shape up as Bobby Varon knows he's got to go, working it to the inside of Ronnie Johnson that time. Johnson would hold on to the lead, however, and Varon trying to take control of this one, but as he continued to fight through right front flat tire on the 00, which would end his title hopes. Well, as Agatha Christie once said, and then there was one. Ronnie Johnson gonna break him off at turn number 4 for the final time, taking the win and the title at the Track of Champions. Josh Hohenforce would finish in 2nd, Danny Johnson 3rd, Pony Bellinger 4th, and Craig Hansen 5th, as RJ takes his 2nd career title at the Track of Champions. Sportsman winner, as we mentioned before, was Brian Calabrese. Novice sportsman will go to David Manchester. Kenny Gates puts the exclamation point on the season with a win in the Pro Stocks, as he is also your 2016 champion. And the Street Stocks, Josh Coonrad picking up another one along with the title. This past Monday night was the first and only appearance by the All-Star Circuit of Champions owned by Tony Stewart. Let's head to the Valley of Speed for some 410 Winged Warrior action. Tony Stewart on hand, Jason Harrington and John Stanley having a little fun with him as well, and those 2 laughing out there in front. Final race for the number 11 of Steve Kinzer, and this one as the green flag would fly, slamming Sammy Swindell. Going to bring the field to the green in the A-main for the All-Star Circuit of Champions. Car gets up and over down the back straightaway. That's the 57 of Andrew Pauker. And also Corey Sparks involved as well, as you see him coming back off the racetrack. Green flag back out onto the speedway. Danny Holtgraver going to go around, and a number of cars going to be collected. Justin Barger involved in the number 5 machine as he slowly keeps it rolling. Sean Donovan as well with some left rear damage as Holtgraver out of the car, and a couple other cars as well with a tough break. Off the restart, Swindell would take control once again now as they come off of turn number 2. Stuart Friesen trying to work his way up through the field as Sheldon Hodenshield going to work his way to the outside of him, looking to take the position down the front straightaway with Steve Kinzer right behind him. Meanwhile, Dale Blaney starting to close in on the one of Sammy Swindell up at the front when the red flag would come out again as the 1080 of Jordan Mackison hit hard coming out of turn number 3 and 4. A tough break for him in his first trip to the Lebanon Valley Speedway. Off of the restart, things would continue with Swindell out front as Stuart Friesen racing with Steve Kinzer up off the corner as lap traffic could have been a factor in this one as Joe Cotta right in front of Swindell working down the back straightaway. Here comes the one of Dale Blaney really starting to close in as we move toward the halfway point of this event. Matt Tanner going to go a lap down from Swindell as they come off at turn number 4. And Blaney as they continue to race with Chad Kemenaugh right in tow along with Craig Kinzer in the 11K. The big game tree stands, car number 1 of Sammy Swindell holding it as the yellow will come out as Stuart Friesen goes up and over. A tough ride for the driver out of Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, Canada. Off of the restart as that Hallmark car gets pulled off, it would be Swindell once again, but now Craig Kinzer going to get a great move up to the top side. Going to try to go around Dale Blaney for the number 2 spot down the back straightaway, and it would be a right rear tire going down on the one of Blaney up off of turn number 4. That would bring out the yellow again as you see them changing the tire down in front on that number 1 entry. Off the restart, the one of Swindell going to take over one more time with Craig Kinzer and Chad Kemenaugh in tow. Off the back straightaway, they would fly Cap Henry trying to make a bid on Sheldon Hodenshield for position out in front of this one as the field continuing to go by, and Hodenshield really starting to work his way up through the field as Steve Kinzer celebrating his final laps of competition as Sammy Swindell would pick up the win in the All-Star Circuit of Champions feature. Craig Kinzer would finish in second. Chad Kemenaugh would come home in third. Tim Schaefer fourth. And rounding out your top 5 would be Cap Henry. In the small block modified companion event, Kenny Tremont would pick up the win. Wayne Shelley would finish in second. Peter Carlotto third. Brett Haas fourth. And Demetrius Trelos would finish in fifth. Things at the Glen Ridge Motorsports Park are starting to really heat up as Jeremy Wilder and Bobby Varon continue to put on a battle. Would one of them be able to strike? With I-88 off, we had an invader join the field at the Ridge, and that was the Garrity Asphalt Reclaiming car number 4 of the Wild Child, Andy Bacchetti. Modified feature will get started with the 6H of Josh Owenforst working his way up through turn number 1 and 2 for the first time with the race lead as Jeff Rockefeller going to get caught up on the outside wall for a second. He loses a number of positions as they continue to work their way through the field. Bacchetti on the inside now, Jimmy Becker as Varon goes to the inside of him. Meanwhile, Sean Pangman, I'm thinking he's taking a little exception to something Craig Hansen might have done, is he gets him once, gets him twice, and they both go up into the wall, and Pangman would end up on pit road. So the 30-bar of Pangman going to go behind the wall as things would get started again. The 6H of Owenforst would take control. Craig Hansen would move into the number 2 spot. Jeremy Wilder and Bobby Varon now in the top 5 as the Wild Child has something go amiss on the Garrity Asphalt Reclaiming machine as he drops back a couple of positions as he's still trying to work his way up. Meanwhile, they would fight up through turn number 1 and 2 as Bacchetti tried to come back through. And meanwhile, the other 34 machine driven by Jim Nagel, well, he catches fire coming down the front stretch. And that puts a new meaning to getting fired up on the racetrack. He would be okay, but a tough break for the 34 machine. Off the restart, Jeremy Wilder going to go Splitsville on Bobby Vetter and the 20 of Craig Hansen as they work their way down the front straightaway. Wilder into the number 2 spot, trying to reel in the 6H machine as Andy Bacchetti continues to work his way up through the field. He'd slide in front of Bobby Vetter for position, looking to crack the top 5. Now going to work on the 00 of Bobby Varon up on the outside lane in that green number 4. Bacchetti working it up off at turn number 4 would slide into that spot, now trying to reel in your race leaders as he would look to catch the 20 of Craig Hansen up through turn number 1 and 2. As this is happening, it's still Owenforst with the lead, but here comes Jeremy Wilder working it up on the inside. Final time, down the back straightaway, the 22J with a great run down the back stretch. They come through 3 and 4, checkered flag out. Wilder just sneaks by at the line. A tough break for Josh Owenforst, who would have to finish second behind Wilder Hansen would finish in third, Bobby Varon fourth, and Andy Bacchetti would round out the top five. Other winners on the night, the Don Martin Memorial Sportsman Race would go to Rocky Warner, Pro Stocks to Ivan Joslin, and Pete Vila would pick up the win in the Cruisers. It's now time for this week's Kaiser Aluminum Wheels fan poll question, which is, if you could have a Speed Weeks for Modifieds going Monday through Thursday, what 4 tracks would you pick? To cast your answer, head to facebook.com/RaceProWeekly, and the answers will be read on next week's show. Taking a look at last week's question, who is going to win the Fonda Speedway Modified Track Championship? 50% of you said Ronnie Johnson, 25% of you said Bobby Varon, and the other 25 said Jeremy Wilder. Well, hey, if you picked Ronnie Johnson, you were correct. Coming up on Race Pro Weekly, the race at Albany Saratoga continues, and boy was there a wrench put into a couple drivers' plans. And we'll head to the D-shaped Dirt Demon for some more modified action. Reputable, reliable, results. That's what you get when you call Rick and the professionals at RCT Roofing. Quality service at fair prices. RCT gets the job done. Just like Nick Stone and the RCT Pro Stock. RCT Roofing, we've got you covered.
I'm Brian from 1-800-GOT-JUNK. This is my main man Tom and my other main man Tom.
You never know how much junk you've got until you move.
Point to something you wish would disappear.
Would it be possible to... It's gone!
All you have to do is point.
Where have you been all my life?
We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point.
There's only one place in the Capital Region for you to get the full racing action. Stop down at the Bobco video booth at the track or call 518-399-0937. Bobco Racing Video, the next best thing to being there. Welcome back to Race Pro. Oh boy. Yep, I decided to partake in kiddie rides on the 173 machine. Modified feature would see Rich Rocca start up in the number 1 spot and lead the field up through turn number 1 and 2 for the first time. They would bring it around through the corner. Jesse Mueller goes around. Mark Johnson backs off the throttle, but nowhere to go for the 3J, as that is going to break the rear end on the machine, and he was done for the night. But with Tyler Dipple subbing in for Brett Hearn involved, this could be an okay points night for the 3J. Vernal would look for the race lead on the outside lane, and he would take that away from Rich Rocca up through turn number 1 and 2 as the caution would come out for the 17 of Robbie Pitcher. Working down the front stretch as Tyler Dipple would go back pit side along with the M2 of Todd Morey. Off of the restart, Matt DiLorenzo starting to state his claim up towards the front. Stuart Friesen and J.R. Hefner as well, as here comes the 44 machine working his way on the inside, looking for the number 4 spot on Hefner. He would grab that, then he would race with Matt DiLorenzo, but as he turned the car, he makes contact, goes around up in turn number 1 and 2. A tough break for Stuart Friesen now, as he has trouble on the Hallmark 44 machine. Off of that restart, it would be Vernal taking control of it one more time as the 74 of Hefner looked to work his way up. Kenny Tremont trying to take advantage of both Dipple and Johnson out of this one so far, but the caution will come out for the 37 of Justin Barber as the green comes back out with now J.R. Hefner, your race leader, up into turn number 1 and 2. Matty D going to look on the top side to see if he can find something as Tremont and Lombardo continue their battle, but Hefner would be your race leader, and now here comes DiLorenzo up on the top side. New race leader down the back straightaway as Matty D has gone to the front. As they continue to ride, hey, there's Tyler Dipple. Up through turn number 1 and 2, coming back on the racetrack right in front of your leaders, almost makes contact with them, but the 3D of DiLorenzo would hold on strong, with now Keith Flack looking for the number 2 spot on the inside. Flack would work his way underneath the 74 as they drop it down the inside to turn number 3 and 4 as Flack would move up into the runner-up position. As they come down to back straightaway, the 74 of J.R. Hefner and the 2 of Ronnie Johnson continuing to go side by side for position as Ronnie Johnson looking to take control. Meanwhile, battle for the lead as Keith Flack starts to close in on the 3D of Matty D. He get a great look at him up at turn number 2 this time, but the 3D would diamond it off the corner, bring it off at turn number 4, and pick up the win for the second time in 2016. Second would be Keith Flack. Third, Ronnie Johnson. Fourth, J.R. Hefner. And Don Rocca would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night: Chris Johnson would pick up the win in the Sportsman, Dan Gragnon in the Limited Sportsman. Pro Stocks would go to Walt Brownell, Josh Kurat in the Street Stocks, and the Vintage Mods to Chris Adams. The Brewerton Speedway has seen its share of different winners all season. Would that trend continue this past Friday night? Sportsman action from the Brewerton Speedway to get you started as Glenn Ford and Mike Stanton go side by side for the race lead. Stanton would lead that lap, but Glenn Ford would power ahead up off of turn number 2 and take that number 7 machine to the front to pick up the win in the Sportsman feature event. Glenn Ford having a great year in the Sportsman, and oh boy, is he happy getting up out of the car. Modified feature event working its way up on the speedway as Joe August Jr. would lead the field up into turn number 1 and 2 for the first time. 3-wide battle for second. Coming right behind him is Vinny Vitale. Powers around the outside of Chad Phelps and Ryan Bartlett for that position. As Vitale now looking for the race lead as Ryan Bartlett goes around in turn number 3 and 4. Couple cars get collected as Tom Sears Jr. gets involved with Max McLaughlin. Off of the restart, the Heil driver working it up on the top side, but the Genoa Giant Pat Ward working it to the inside of him as well, as he was the car on the move, looking to crack the top 5. He'd get by Joe August and look to set his sights on your top 2 runners. Meanwhile, Tim Kerr working his way to the inside of Vinny Vitale for the race lead up off of turn number 4. That time Kerr would slide up in front. He would be your new race leader, working it up on the inside lane, sliding up in front and taking the lane away. It wouldn't be long till Ward would work his way up into the number 2 spot, sliding underneath the 56 of Vitale. But could he catch the 07 of Tim Kerr? Not happening. Tim Kerr, brand new race car, another feature event victory at the Brewerton Speedway. Pat Ward would have to settle for second. Larry White would finish in third. Vinny Vitale fourth, and Tim Sears Jr. would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, as you saw earlier, the Sportsman would go to Glenn Forward, Jeff Sykes in the Mod Lights, and the 4 cylinders to Chris Panofsky. Close quarter racing at the Accord Speedway is something we've known and loved for a long time on the Ulster County Bull Ring. Let's see who would win the next chapter in the Book of Accord. Chad Lodi's going to lead the field to the green in the feature down at the Accord Speedway as we move to the Ulster County Bull Ring. Down the backstretch, cars looking to make their way up through the field very early in this one as those sail panels will fly as they work their way up in turn number 1 and 2. You see Joe Judge and Anthony Perego trying to move his way up along with Danny Creedon as well. As Creedon and Iron Mike Ricky come together, that sends Ricky to the outside wall and slowing as that would end his night. Off of the restart, here comes Showtime. Danny Tyler looking to the outside as he's got some schwoon beneath the sheet metal in this feature event as the 97 machine would take on the race lead. Cars trying to work their way up as here's Danny Creedon once again working his way to the inside of the 3 machine of Joe Judge as he's side by side with him up off the corner as Chad Lodice continues to sit in the number 2 spot. John Ferrier right there as well as Richie Urich working his way up. Here's Creedon to the inside as they work their way down the back straightaway. They go side by side for position. Then Joe Judge going to bring out the gavel off at turn number 2 with the 16 of Danny Creedon as Creedon would take the momentum away. Meanwhile, new second place man now is Anthony Perego going to dive to the inside of the 5 of Chad Lodice and take that spot away as now Mark Pullen going to make a move on the outside lane trying to take control with Ferrier right there as well. Lodice still trying to hold on to that number 3 spot, but here's Ferrier up on the inside lane, who is now Creedon look to crack the top 5. He'll go to the inside of Richie Urich trying to find a position down the back straightaway. But meanwhile, the battle between Ferrier and Lodice continues as Chad Lodice with a great run here in this one, still holding on to that number 3 spot. Showtime, Danny Tyler working his way up through the field as he gets into heavy lap traffic. That allows Anthony Perego to look to try to close in. Working his way up through turn number 3 and 4. He would really close the gap that time, taking a great look at him up off of turn number 2. But as they make their way off the corner, Showtime, Danny Tyler going to pick up the win. Perego would finish in second. Scott Ferrier would finish in third. Danny Creedon fourth, and Richie Urich would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, Kevin Ward would grab the win in the Sportsman. Jim Krause in the Rookie Sportsman. Wingless sprints to Larry Ricky. Bob Slate in the Pure Stocks. Junior Slingshots to John Kendall. All down at the Ulster County Bull Ring. Coming up on RPW, we head back to the High Banks for some modified action, and boy, wait till you see this race at Merrittville. It's all coming up on Race Pro Weekly.
If you're like me, your to-do list never ends. But with just one phone call, I protect my home, family, pets, and yard all year round. With Northeast Pest Control's Premier Home Protection Program, I don't have to worry about bugs and pests, and I don't have to worry about harsh chemicals either. Now, how about that want-to-do list? Thanks, Northeast Pest Control.
Ants, termites, mice, or bees, call today for your free estimate.
With Northeast Pest Control, we guarantee you'll live pest-free.
Performance, quality, service. That's DMC Racing Products. Hundreds of name brand parts, competitive prices. That's DMC. DMC Racing Products. Race to win.
Looking for outstanding service for your car, truck, or SUV? Speed's Garage is a family-run business providing the highest quality of auto care. From routine maintenance, brakes, engine, body, or paint work, you can trust the professionals at Speed's Garage. Speed's Garage has all the auto service you need, plus full towing for any vehicle. For championship service, go to Speed's Garage in Mellonville.
Welcome back to Race Pro Weekly as we head to the Fulton Speedway, and oh, baby, a little bit of incidents down with the late models getting started, and sportsmen were having some trouble as well as car spins in front of the field. Few get collected. Anyway, we'll move to the modifieds, where Caitlin Heil and Willie Decker would lead the field to the green up through turn number 1 and 2 for the first time as the cars look to make their move down the backstretch. Willie Decker going to turn it up on the top side as Heil leads lap number 1, but the 57 working it up top, really trying to take the lead away, and he gets the momentum off turn number 2 to be your new race leader. Chris Heil working it up on the top side. Ryan Phelps going to try to split Tim Kerr along with him up into turn number 1 and 2. As it would be Heil taking control of that one. Chuck Bauer and Adam Roberts going to come together for a second, and Roberts goes around up on the outside of turn number 3. Off the restart, Jimmy Phelps and Chuck Bauer going to split the 57 of Willie Decker up through turn number 1 and 2 as Bauer has the race lead away, but Jimmy Phelps starting to work it up on the inside lane as the caution comes out for Tim Murphy. Tough break for Murphy with nowhere to go. A lot of damage on the X Machine. Off the restart, Jimmy Phelps gets a great jump coming down on the inside lane. He would be your new race leader up through turn number 1 and 2 on the outside. Here's Ryan Phelps looking to make a bid for second as they're 3 deep up at turn number 4 as Ryan Phelps trying to rocket his way up on the inside lane, but it was another Phelps that would go to victory lane as Jimmy Phelps takes the 98H to the top at Fulton. Pat Ward with his second straight night of runner-up finishing. Larry White would finish in 3rd, Ryan Phelps 4th, and Chris Heil would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, Todd Root would grab the win in the Sportsman. Novice Sportsman number 1 to Kyle Perry, Richie Riggs in Novice Sportsman number 2, AJ Kingsley in the late models, and Chris Panofsky with another win in the 4 cylinders. The Jersey Jet Brett Hearn is starting to put a stranglehold on the rest of the field, pulling away his deficit in the point standings at the Valley. Would he be able to put another good run together? The Atlantic Coast Old Timers on hand down on the high banks as they put on a little exhibition before we got started with our racing action. Green flag in the 30-lap modified feature event is the Superior Seamless Gutters. Car number 87X of Paul Gilardi going to lead the field to the green as we continue through the month of August. Little bump of daisy going on as they head into the east end. Steve Huff looking to take advantage as they go 3 wide. Car on the move early, the 1 of Tyler Dipple working his way up through the field, and now Andy Bacchetti on the outside of Eddie Marshall looking to make something happen, trying to find a way behind Dipple up through. Gilardi would hold on to the race lead as Dipple trying to work his way on the outside. Brett Hearn right there with Andy Bacchetti now going side by side off at turn number 4 as he would slide in front of him for position. Olden Dwyer and Rob Pitcher come together up in turn number 2 with Pitcher getting some momentum off that as caution would come out for the 27 of Dave McFeeters, the 1X of Denny Soltas, and the 43 of Ricky Davis. Off the restart, it will be Paul Gilardi back in control of this one, but Matt Papello going to slide underneath and take the number 2 spot away down the back straightaway. Here's Dipple going to come right with him to the inside of the 17 of Pitcher. He'll take spot number 3 away as they work their way up through the field. Colby Schroeder up on the outside lane trying to follow Kenny Tremont as Tremont has to knock off some points to try to catch Brett Hearn before this one's all said and done. But meanwhile, Tyler Dipple going to move into the number 2 spot and set his sights on race leader Paul Gilardi down the back straightaway. 2-car lane separating the two down the backstretch, and then Dipple going to go electric slide job style up through turn number 1 and 2 that time as he would take the race lead away. Caution will come out with a right rear flat tire on the 42 of Matt Papello. As they continue the race through, Keith Flack, who's been very strong lately here at the Valley of Speed, working it up on the inside of Steve Huff as he would sit one spot out of a top 5 run with Brett Hearn already cracking the top 5 in this feature. Speaking of the Jet, he would move into the number 3 spot, getting by Robbie Pitcher for position. Now set his sights on Paul Gilardi, and then Eddie Marshall going to follow along with Keith Flack as trouble on the 17 of Robbie Pitcher as we move through this feature event. Hearn would work his way to the inside of Gilardi with just a few markers left to go in this one and slide up in front of him and take the number 2 spot away. He'd have a little bit of time to try to reel in Dipple as Keith Flack and Eddie Marshall trying to move past as well. Marshall would get into the number 3 spot, getting by Gilardi. Flack wouldn't take too long as a push off the Gilardi machine would see the 43 duck underneath and take that spot away. But out in front, the thrill from Walkhill, looking to get it done for the second time in 2016, and he does as Tyler Dipple picks up the win. Second was Brett Hearn, third Eddie Marshall, Keith Flack fourth, and Andy Bacchetti would round out the top 5. Other winners on the Saturday night program: Rich Crane, first career win in the Pro Stocks. Pure Stock number 1 to Ed Hatch, Pure Stock number 2 to Phil Sherman. Jeff Krutziger with the win in Pure Stock number 3, and the Boomers Performance Pure Stock Clash will go to Al Relier. Things are starting to close up at the Merrittville Speedway as Mr. Small Block looks to take another championship in the Modifieds. Would anyone else have anything to say about it? Shane Pierce would lead the field to the green for the 35-lap feature event up at the Merrittville Speedway. As Chad Brockman going to roll to the inside with Wayne Kahn up on the top side as well. Pierce shoots high. Here's Kahn to the inside lane looking to take the race lead away. And he does. Battle behind them now. Here is Chris Steele, Mark Valerio, and Pete Bicknell going at it up into turn number 3 and 4. Back to the battle for the lead now as Wayne Kahn works to the outside. Here's Bicknell going to work to the inside of Pierce for the number 3 spot up through turn number 3 and 4. Contact behind them between Steele and Rudolph, and that leaves Steele sitting back in turn number 4, which will bring out the caution. Off of the restart, CB3 going to go back at it again as he takes the race lead down the back straightaway. Wayne Kahn in tow in the number 2 spot, and Mike Bowman looking to work his way up through the field as well as he works the outside lane. He'll dust one off the cushion coming off the corner. Eric Rudolph going to get involved as well in the top 5 as he will slink by the 71 of Bowman down the back straightaway, and it shows that Bowman has a right rear flat tire on the 71. Off of the next restart, the battle would wage on as Mr. Small Block, Pete Bicknell, going to work it up to the top side in the Lucas Oil Products car number 42 machine, and he would be your new race leader now as they work to the inside. That's the 3 of Chad Brockman going to take the race lead right back from him through turn number 3 and 4. Bicknell going to try to cross back over. Rudolph going to be right there behind him as they look for the race lead down the back straightaway. Brockman still having control, almost knocks him around in the 42 machine, but now Brockman gets away, slips up the banking. Here's Bicknell coming right back to him on the inside lane. Caution will come out again for Mike Bowman and Gary Lindbergh to set up a 6-lap shootout for the feature event win. Bicknell looking to ride on the top side, but here's Brockman down low. Then he'll switch to the top, and Bicknell will go low as Rudolph sits there right behind him. The 3-car battle would wage on through turn number 3 and 4. Bicknell going to slide to the inside lane, looking to take the race lead away from Brockman. He does, and while this happens, Rudolph going to see some daylight going to the inside of Brockman for spot number 2. Now Rudolph really going to look to just try to find momentum on the inside lane as he just finds enough. As the 62 goes to the race lead down the back straightaway, Eric Rudolph, your new race leader, as time starts to really run out. Brockman going to take the number 2 spot away from Bicknell on the inside lane. As they work their way down the back stretch and through 3 and 4 for the final time, Eric Rudolph caps off an exciting feature at Merrittville. Second is Chad Brockman. Third would be Bicknell. Ryan Susi would finish in 4th, and Mark Delario would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night in the Sportsman, it would be Cody McPherson. Mod Lights would go to Paul Klager, Dave Bailey in the Hoosier Stocks, and Tyler LaFontese in the 4 cylinders. When we return on RPW, we head to the Can-Am Speedway to see if anyone could beat Billy Dunn, and we'll give out our NISCA Performer of the Week. Keep it locked right here on RPW.
Out here, seconds mean everything. That's why, in here,
We work so hard to shave them. When a second matters, science matters. Mobil 1. Energy lives here.
Where is it that going green is going strong? Where trees are planted so emissions can be cut down. Where clean ethanol blend fuels race cars and waste oil never goes to waste. Where is it that the sun comes up and we put it to work, and the passionate fans are just as passionate about helping out? Where? Nowhere but NASCAR. Learn what small steps you can take to make a big difference at NASCAR.com/green.
If you are a tracker series that would like to be highlighted on Race Pro Weekly, email us at show@raceproweekly.com. Welcome back to Race Pro Weekly as we head to Can-Am for this modified feature event as Patrick Dupree going to lead him to the green flag along with Ryan Taylor up through turn number 1 and 2. You see the 57 of Riley Gill working on the outside of the 24 Machina Taylor through turn number 3 and 4 with Billy Dunn looking to enter the fray in the early going. Caution would come out onto the speedway for the 12 of Keith Weston, and as they got back going, here was Ryan Bartlett's chance to look to take the race lead on the inside lane, trying to get by Dupree for position. Brady Gill working to the inside of Billy Dunn up through turn number 3 and 4 as they fight their way up through the corner. Dunn going to get away from him, though, and look to set his sight on the rest of the field as the caution will come out for the 24X of Ryan Taylor. Off of the restart, Bartlett would take control, but here's Billy Dunn on the outside, going to go top side where Mama hides the cookies to get by the 24 of Patrick Dupree as he continues to work on him through turn number 3 and 4. Dustin off the cushion, off the corner, and he's going to move into the number 2 spot. Dupree now under fire from the 57 of Riley Gill right behind him as they fight their way down the backstretch. While this happens, the battle for the lead was on as Billy Dunn dives to the inside of Bartlett looking for the number 1 spot off the corner. He's going to continue to ride with him up on the top side as Bartlett takes a line higher as they work their way up through the corner. The 9 of Billy Dunn really starting to reel him in here as he's down to about 2 car lengths through turn number 3 and 4 as they fight for the position. But as that happens, the yellow would come back out and bunch up the field. Off of the restart, the 9 of Billy Dunn going to dive to the outside. Crossover by the 93 of Ryan Bartlett on the inside as Bartlett would go to the lead up off the back straightaway. Billy Dunn will battle back on the inside, looking to take the spot away as Riley Gill sits right behind him. Bartlett still on the outside as now Billy Dunn slide jobs him up off at turn number 2. Down the back stretch they ride. Here's Ryan Bartlett slides right up into Billy Dunn and they hit hard up in turn number 3 and 4 as that would bring out the caution. Just a few laps left to go in this one as now it's going to be Riley Gill and Tyler Bartlett up at the front of the field. Gill going to get away down the back straightaway as they bring him off by turn number 3 and 4, and Riley Gill would pick up the win out at Can-Am. Second would be Tyler Bartlett. Matt Woodruff would finish in third, Pat Dupree fourth, and Nick Webb would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night would be Zach Sabaka in the Sportsman, Greg Henry in the Novice Sportsman, Rick Duxis in the Pro Street Stocks, Derek Ellsworth in the Mod Lights, and Lyle Robinson in the Thunder Stocks. During the All-Star Circuit of Champions race, Steve Kinser announced it would be his final event of his career. Fast Eddie caught up with not only Steve Kinser, but also Tony Stewart and Sammy Swindell, making 3 legends at the Speedway last Monday night.
For the first race in 1981, you're winning here 35 years later. What's that mean to you?
Well, I mean, that's pretty awesome to be able to, win a race here and 35 years later come back. So, been racing for 45 years, so most people don't get a chance to even do that, or the 35. So, let alone be competitive and win. So, I'm just so blessed. It's, I just can't thank everybody enough.
Steve Kinser announced during the intermission tonight that this was his last race. You two certainly had many battles. What's that mean to be here for his final event?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hopefully it's appropriate that I won, and he's been a tough competitor for a long time. So hate to see it end. I know I'm near the end of mine here somewhere, but I'm going to have to hang it up here at some point too. But if I keep winning these races, it keeps bringing me back.
Have the King of the Outlaws run his last race, and to have his probably his biggest rival in his career, Sammy, win the race tonight. I mean, it's just pretty special evening.
What's it mean to be back here at Lebanon Valley, and what do you see in the future?
I was excited for us to come back here. I mean, when Howie called me and said they wanted to have an all-star show, I was real excited about it. This is a cool place. I remember running my first small block modified race with the guy that drove me here tonight, Brian Goey, with us. So, it brought back a lot of memories being here, and then, running the big block race here. I think we're 200 lap race. Yeah, I ran a big 200 lap race here on a Sunday afternoon, I think. So I remember that. So, it's a cool racetrack. I mean, it's just a neat place, and I mean, make no mistakes, when these guys get to the end of the straightaways, they're carrying the mail.
You were here for the first one in 1981. What's it mean to finish your career here?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know exactly. I ran here a lot of times. Like I said, I've been here at 81, and I wasn't really planning on running any this year. And then Howie decided to have this all-star race, and Tony and Howie asked me if I'd come and run. And I said, yeah, I'll come and run one race. And I mean, when I did it, I was planning on actually running a few more races than that, but since then I haven't ran any. But I'm glad I come out. Craig was coming anyway, so it's hard to run two cars out of one trailer with not enough people. But I enjoyed coming back out for the last race, so we'll see what happens.
Taking a look at Victory Lane, it was a familiar face that you spent many years battling. He said in Victory Lane he hoped it was fitting that he won tonight. What did it mean to race against him all these years?
Oh, Sammy's been the hardest competitor I've had over the years since I started racing, me and him. And, I've went through almost 3 generations of race drivers now, me and Sammy have. So I put 40 hard years in, so getting a little bit too heavy to run these race cars. I wish I was a little smaller, but I'm not, and I'm not doing anything about getting any smaller. So 62 years old, is doing it 40 years is enough.
On behalf of race fans everywhere, Steve Kinser, thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate all the race fans always have, and that's who I'll probably miss the most, is the race fan.
It's now time for this week's NISCA Performer of the Week, and as a car owner picking up not 1, but 2 championships at the Fonda Speedway, this week's recipient is Jake Spraker. Spraker is now eligible for the Performer of the Year award given out at the end of the season. That's all for this week's show. For the latest news, results, and photos, check out Race Pro Weekly online at www.raceproweekly.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So for myself, Bobby Chalmers, Fast Eddie, Scott Morlock, Amber Chalmers, and everyone that helps put Race Pro Weekly together, thank you for watching this week's episode, and we'll see you next time.